there, and welcome to my new polymer clay video on making Sonic the Hedgehog based on his model from Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast and GameCube. The materials I will be using in this project is Fimo White, these are the professional brands, Fimo True Blue, Sculpey Primo in Cobalt, Fimo Professional in Cameo, and Fimo Soft in light pink. The blues were mixed together to achieve the colour, as well as the two skin tones were mixed together in a 50-50 ratio. So these are my clays, all nice and conditioned, which takes lots of time. And the main tool that I've been using for these sculpts lately is this one with this little like end piece on. I don't know, it blends the clay really nice. So before I started filming, I actually made the base out of just the grey clay armature wire just to get the base ready for the colour clay. This is how I typically work. And this is the reference that I used. I found making a reference helps so much with making sure I don't go over the proportions. As you can see, I often refer back to this base. I use images from, official Sonic artists on their sizing. So we're starting to build from the feet upwards, which is the best way to start from to keep your proportions the right size. So I'm starting with the shoes, just making sure they're matching up, and this is where I'm using the Fimo White. Now going in and building up the body. I'm just doing this all on the first day, so I actually got quite a lot achieved on the 1st of March. And here's a time lapse of me before I did the blue clay. So this is just how I build up the feet. I just make small little parts of the white clay and just slowly build them up. You smoothen them out as I go. You don't want to make it too thick because you're at more risk of air bubbles. And then at the end of the day, I got tired and went and finished my battle pass on Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Finally finished it with Tangle and Whisper. Amazing. Love that they're now in the game. And this is, here we are now on the 10th of March, a week later. I've added in his back spikes, his tail, as well as his chest piece here, using the mixture of the two. I actually brought in Wave the Sparrow as well for my previous project, just to check the sizing as well, because although I've got my reference image, I still have a habit of just making things too big. Let's try to keep everything the same across the board. So here we've got another time lapse. Here's me comparing the reference, and I'm starting to make the head now. Sonic the Hedgehog characters are weird because their heads are so big. So what I'm doing is I've got the tin foil to make the base to save on clay, otherwise it would be way too heavy. I'm sticking that on with some Fimo like bacon bond, and then I'm going in with that grey colour again, that I used for the base. And I'm just using this just as like cheap to save on the coloured clay. I would normally use white, but I don't know where I got this grey clay from. It is a Fimo brand. So making sure I keep the hole at the bottom so I can get the armature wire in. And again, I'm just still going to use a little bit of like the bacon bond to, when I bake it, to keep the head from popping off. Now I'm going in with the coloured clay. I'm sure this was baked, and then I'm going in with the colour clay. Well, what I'm doing is I'm blending in the neck to the head before baking, so that it will have more of a secure bond. Just trying to get it as smooth as possible, so there's not like any seams or anything. Going back to the shoes. Decided to completely 180 and work on the shoes instead, so I'm adding like his little sock details here, which is just 2 bits of snakes of clay just rolled up and then blended together just to create that sock shape. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. So here's just a little bit of an update. I don't film all the time, so this is Sonic's muzzle and his nose added into the figure. This is before I go in. I also made his hands separate. I always make these off camera because they are such a pain to make, but this one with his thumbs up, this came out so well. I was very proud of this, and I always attach these on right at the end before glazing with super glue. So here he is now. Remember, Bolt Sonic can't hurt you. And here he is with his spikes or his spines finally added. These were tinfoil base with lots of with the clay added in, and then his other hand, as you can see, has been sculpted now. So before these get glazed, they get the hand gets super glued on because it's not going back into the oven at this point. And I got this cordless nail drill because a lot of the blue colour seeped into the white, and I'm just going to go outside and sand it. Remember to always wear a mask when you're doing so. So here he is, with his shoes are being coloured. I must have done these off camera or at some point, and now I'm going to work on his eyes, which is the hardest part. Have to make sure you get these right. My hands are slightly shaken because of course I would have had caffeine before I did this, because I always work on these models in the morning. So I use just basic acrylic paint to do the paint. The white I always use a model paint for the white acrylic because it goes on so much nicer. And to save, because I had the acrylic paint before I started this, I use this Liquidex Flow Aid additive. I use this, I can't remember what the ratio is, but I add it into this little dropper tool and I mix that into my paint, and it creates the consistency of model paint. I would say if you've got plenty of acrylic paints and you just want to save on money, buy that additive rather than buying a bottle of model paint. Honestly, it makes the paint go on so much well. Only thing is you have to do such thin layers, and if you're like me, you just have no patience, but it looks good in the end. It doesn't look chunky, it's nice and smooth. At this point, I would like to remind you, if you are enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm going to hit 40 subscribers soon, which is insane. I feel like this year has been really good. I got a lot of really good response on my short of this, as well as I'm on TikTok as well, but I really would like to try and focus more on YouTube. I feel like the community here is so nice. So yes, I'm left-handed. This is me going in with the model paint and just whitening up the eyes. Although we used a white clay, it is more likely to get dirt and that in, and although we sanded it, the white model paint just brightens it up so much more. So this is me just very carefully going in and adding just really thin layers of that white model paint just to help. And I have sketched out the eyes, so I won't paint in where the eyes are meant to be. I'm just painting around it. Yeah, just so I know where the layout of the eyes is, because it helps so much. And if I do go over the lines, anything like that, all I do is I just use I either use one of these little like injection wipes that's like got the alcohol in it, or I will just use some water and just a cotton bud just to tidy it up. It's always better to do this when the paint is wet rather than when the paint is dry. Yes, I know we're into the end of May now, and this is like the end of March. These videos they take a while to edit and go into. I ended up wanting to make like the banner for my YouTube. I wanted to update the icon, which is now out of date. I also wanted to add in like an ending credit, everything like that. It's amazing how the small details add up when making these YouTube videos. I'm hoping this one does look more better than the nice one that I uploaded a couple of months ago. So for the eyes, I don't know if I show this, but I bought these Ohuhu acrylic markers. Well, they're not markers, they're more like acrylic pens, and I ended up using these because they blend really well with each other with a little bit of water. That's how I added in the colour of his eyes. I don't know if I show me doing this, it's just this is how I do. So rather than using the acrylic paint, I was using the acrylic pens, as I feel like I do have more control with these. I think in the next clip coming up, I'm adding the gold onto his shoes, and if you know, you know, working with iridescent paint, it requires so many layers to help to make the color stand out. I was there for so long with the gold on the shoes because I was debating using yellow, ended up deciding to go with the gold, which I feel like turned out a lot nicer than just the plain yellow. And here we are with the base coats done with the white. Looking pretty good. So here it is working on the gold. This was just a short that I uploaded for TikTok and YouTube. I would love to know where I can get a more opaque gold colour, but I don't plan on buying any soon. I want to get through what I already have in terms of paint, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. So here he is, all just before the glazing. Looks pretty good. I was so happy with how the eyes turned out. I feel like I'm getting so much better at doing the eyes. And here is the final product. Once it's all got the top coat on, I use a UV nail resin for the eyes, and I use a Liquitex matte sealer for the rest of it. So any parts that aren't shiny gets the matte, and any shiny parts does. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Please remember to like and subscribe.